just quickly, can you hear the aircon unit in the background?
No.
No. Okay, good. Fine. It's not really an option, is it? Right. You are listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, live from Perth, Australia, and my mate James Jones from the equally glamorous Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk. Jonesy, it's absolutely great to have you joining in from all the way across the world. I've never been so far away from home before in my life. Jet lag's proving to be an absolute nightmare. I used to just think people were being dramatic when they say they had jet lag. I've obviously been to a few different countries in my 31 years on the planet and never really been that affected by it. But all I've done since I've been here is not be able to sleep till like 3:30 in the morning and then wake up at 11 a.m. Australia time, which is, what is that, 2 a.m.? No, 4 a.m. UK time. And trust me, it feels like you're waking up at 4 a.m. UK time. I'm all over the place.
Mate, I never had jet lag until I went to Canada last, and I struggled with it. So I feel your pain at the moment, mate. It's an absolute killer. It all depends on the flight time and whether you can sleep at a normal-ish time on the plane. Luckily, my flight times the first time I went to Canada were pretty much as long as I slept when I would normally sleep. It was okay, but the last time I went, it reached all types of havoc on my sleep pattern and my body. So I feel you, mate.
I think that's what screwed me. I flew at like 11 a.m. and then Perth's like 7 hours ahead of the UK. So I flew at 11 a.m. UK time, landed in Kuala Lumpur, which is the same time zone as Perth, at like 7 a.m. their time, but I'd only had an hour's sleep on the plane. And it was like 11 p.m. UK time when I landed or whatever. And then I had to like stay up for another day having not slept.
Yeah.
But which was like overnight UK time. It was mental. And I had 3 hours sleep, and then it's very, very weird indeed. But Jonesy, I've had a great time since I've been here. I touched down on Friday afternoon, which would be Friday morning UK time. I went to the Perth Glory game last night, thrashed Perth Glory 6-2 at Optus Stadium. I went to the pre-match official West Ham United event beforehand, met some absolutely brilliant West Ham fans from across the globe, Australian supporters, Brits who had gone out there just for the game, as well as some expats living down under at the moment as well. It's a really great atmosphere. I was also delighted to chat to former West Ham striker and Australian Richard Garcia. Well, he's not former Australian. He still is an Australian, I think. And, also Taylor Tombides as well, which was a real privilege. Brother, of course, of Dylan Tombides, who we lost to testicular cancer 10 years ago now. That was Jonesy, and Taylor and his mum Tracy are doing excellent work running the DT38 Foundation. Of course, you and I, through the podcast, and thanks to our charity partnership with Betway, raised nearly $5,000, I think it was, for the DT38 Foundation over a couple of seasons very recently, which was great stuff indeed. So it's really good to chat to Taylor. You'll be able to hear both of those interviews later on in this podcast, as well as a couple of chats I had with George, who from Melbourne, who fell in love with West Ham thanks to Dimitri Payet, and he'd made the trip with his girlfriend Erin all the way up from Melbourne to Perth for yesterday's game, plus Ian and Paul as well. Ian was from Bristol, lived in Perth for ages, had an Australian accent and had a Perth Glory top on. And then, Paul was living in Lewisham, lived in Australia before, but supported West Ham and was English. It was all very confusing, James, but I met some brilliant people yesterday. It was great. We've got some of the audio and content you'll be able to hear later in the show. Jonesy, Declan Rice has left for Arsenal, £105 million. The Gunners finally pulled their finger out and agreed to some semi-reasonable payment terms, 33 instalments of 33.3 million. And then that's obviously not including any bonuses, which obviously they'll be paid as and when they are triggered, if they're triggered at all. An emotional farewell video, one of the longest farewell statements I've ever read from Declan Rice. And then obviously the announcement on Arsenal social media, which was somewhat more difficult to stomach, I must admit. Plus 8 goals in West Ham's first pre-season friendly in Australia, 2 from Jared Bowen, some performances for some young players. Lots to cover and pack into this podcast. What do you, general thoughts from you? How are you feeling? What's your West Ham feelings and thoughts at the moment?
Well, first and foremost, I'm glad all this Declan Rice stuff's over with. We'll get into the details of it shortly, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm glad that's done. It feels like we can kind of put that behind us now and move on. We've got a lot of work to do before the season starts in just under a month now.
Yep.
He needs to be replaced. We still have, we need, I reckon, about a good 4 or 5 players before we can even think about being ready for the new season. So now that's done, you'd like to think we'll start sort of jumping into action a little bit and start getting some business done. But the first 2 games, obviously Bournemouth earlier on in the week, and then Perth. It's very difficult to read into results in pre-season. I've said it so many times in the past, but quite encouraging, really. I mean, last year we drew 1-1 with Bournemouth. I went to that friendly.
It was your old stomping ground, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. This year we thrashed them 4-1. Some of the youngsters got a run out and looks pretty impressive from what I hear. And the same goes with the Perth game. So from a pre-season point of view, yeah, like you can't get much better than that. But from a transfer point of view, I'm getting a little bit concerned because we've allowed that Declan Rice saga to drag out for as long as we have done. I know Arsenal played their part as well.
I was going to say that seems a bit harsh saying we've allowed it to drag on.
We didn't allow it. I'm sure the club would have liked to get it done earlier. It's wrong for me to say that, admittedly, but Arsenal dragged it out for whatever reason. I know that we tried to start a bidding war, failed spectacularly at that. Because City just wanted.
You still got 105 million. Though.
Yeah, but City wanted no part of the planet. I think we were hoping that City would come in with a second bid, and it didn't happen. And gave Arsenal a clear run. But yeah, I'm just glad that's done now, and we can move forward, and hopefully we can start doing some business.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to David Moyes after the game last night, and he was loath to be drawn on the Declan Rice situation. To be honest, he. Got a couple of questions. I had to take the hit in the press conference after the game. Everyone was sort of dancing around it a little bit. I was like, oh well, here we go. And I didn't want to sort of ask directly about Declan Rice in order to sort of try and move it forward a bit. And I did say, you've been, what's the word? You've been, you said in the build up to the game, that it was difficult to plan. While the saga was ongoing, and so now that deal is done, does the planning start now, or have you got some deals in place that you expect to be able to announce now? And he just said, well, of course we've been planning in the background. So you sort of get the sense that in the build up it was to put the pressure on Arsenal a bit, and to make it clear that Arsenal were the ones holding the deal up and dragging it along, which I think they were. But I think from a West Ham point of view, they've got an excellent deal for the club. I think, fans and us previously have been critical of the board when necessary. And we said on here, didn't we, that if they accepted 90 million or less, or I said it would be a dereliction of duty. I think 105 million is a very good price for West Ham United. I think getting all the money over the next 3 years is also a positive for the club. And all in all, James, I like you say, I would. The fact he's gone to Arsenal will make it difficult to wish him well and to want him to do well. If he'd gone to City, or that's even Chelsea, I sort of wouldn't have minded that. But yeah, now he's at Arsenal. I don't mind him doing well. Someone put it on Twitter after it was announced and just said, I really, really hope Declan Rice continues to push on and is England's number 1 midfielder whilst Arsenal come 8th every year.
Yeah.
Which is sort of unlikely, but that is sort of how I feel about it.
I'm still at a complete loss as to what he's doing in North London. To be honest, mate, he spent the
What do
last
you
2
mean by that,
years.
though?
I understand that they've got something good going on over there at Arsenal at the moment. And yeah, they were the only club that seemed to be willing to front the money that we wanted for him. But he spent the best part of the last 2 years saying he wants to win it all. He's now just signed for a football club that has not won it all and will not win it all. Right? It's facts. They might win the FA Cup. They love winning the FA Cup. They win it, once every couple of years, probably. They want it more than anyone else. They might win a League Cup. They're not going to win the Champions League. It's just that's fantasy. And they might come close in the Premier League. Their best chance of winning the Premier League in the last 20 years was last season, and they bottled it. Like, I don't understand. I just cannot get my head around it. He's just won a trophy at West Ham. I'm not saying he had a better chance of winning a trophy at West Ham over Arsenal, but he said he wanted to win it.
Well,
all.
he did the trophy last year, didn't he?
Yeah, but he wants to play in the Champions League. Fine. He wants to win it all. Fine. You're playing. Okay. You'll tick the Champions League box this season, Dick, but you're not going to win it all in North London. It's just not going to happen.
No.
And it's just, it's going to take some getting used to seeing him wearing that shirt. I've said on this podcast many a time, I've never really had a problem with Arsenal. As opposed to the other club in North London who I just completely despise.
Weird fans, though, Arsenal.
Well, over the last, how long's it gone on for? A month? Yeah, just over a month. Over the last month, I've developed a real passionate hatred for that football club and their fan base. It has been unbearable. My WhatsApp at the moment is just literally just full of pictures of Declan Rice in an Arsenal shirt from all my mates. Yeah, like no words, just a picture. And I've already had enough of it. And they're so entitled. They think they're going to win it all. And I genuinely hope they don't. Next year, I think they're going to have a reality check next year because there's a lot of football clubs who would normally be fighting for the title that weren't last year that will be again this year. I think Chelsea will be stronger with Pochettino in charge. Tottenham, and they're not going to challenge for the title, but they'll be in amongst the top 4 race with Postecoglou. Liverpool will be better. Like Man United will be better. Newcastle, God knows what they're going to do. Villa, I think, are going to be a dark horse next season. Like they're not going to just run away and have another top year. They're going to be top for most of the season, and I can't wait for them to really suddenly realise that it's not going to be we're going to go and win the quadruple. It's going to be hang on, maybe last year was our chance. But what you said about wishing Declan Rice well, I do wish him well. I think he deserves that from his fan base and what he's given us. He could have left 2 years ago. He could have left last summer. He didn't. He stayed, and he's become only the third ever captain to lift a major trophy at West Ham. That should deserve from the entire fan base respect. And I do wish him the best, but I don't wish Arsenal the best. And unfortunately, that's the reality of it. If he'd have gone to Chelsea, I would have understood. Because he's a Chelsea boy, season ticket holder back in the day. His dad's still a season ticket holder, we're led to believe. So I would have got that, and I would have wanted to see him do well at Chelsea. And maybe if Chelsea won the league, I wouldn't have been that bothered because it would have been Deck. City, I would have gone there and hoped he won the lot. Again, I hope they go and win the quadruple. Fine, it's pretty similar thing at Liverpool, but at Arsenal, I wish I just and the way they behaved, Arsenal as well, mate. Like with those kids. Like it was the equivalent of walking into a Rolls Royce shop, going, "I'll give you a tenner for it over the next 3 years." And if I can successfully turn it to a unicorn overnight, I'll give you another tenner. Like that's what they were trying to do. Like, come on, I know we want 100 million quid for him. Don't offer 60 and then 20 million add-ons if we win the Champions League and the Premier League. Grow up, come on. And then you got their fans going, "Oh yeah, well, you never heard the art of negotiation." No, that's not negotiation. That's just being idiotic, like stupid. And then it take 8 days to sign the contract at the end. Sign the contract, boys. Get it done. We don't want him anymore. Like we've waved our goodbyes, and you're just sitting there like reading through the contract over 100 million times.
Twiddling your thumbs,
Grow up, boys. but it's done now. We can put it behind us. And as you can tell, I'm a little bit upset about the whole thing.
Wow, yeah, it's brilliant.
Like it's just wound me up a little bit. The whole thing's just wound me up. And it couldn't have gone to a worse football club, if you ask me.
You know what, right? There is a chance. The Arsenal, because they've invested well, to be fair. Like Kai Havertz, odd signing, but they've spent a few quid there. Decker's coming in. Yeah, I don't know. I just agree with you. Unless he's just doing it as a stepping stone, and it is a step on the way to a Real Madrid, and he goes and links up with like Jude Bellingham in a couple of years. Because my friend of mine, or a colleague and friend of mine, Cutsy, Dan Cutts, who's been on the show as the Arsenal opposition view before, he texts me, similar sort of childish sort of vein. Cheers for Rice, mate. It's just like, all right, fine.
And they're all calling him Deckers as well, which is annoying me. It's like, no. Like you're his best mate. Like, yeah, that's our thing.
Yeah, no, but it's just like, well, you've paid £105 million, like a British Records transfer fee or whatever. So thank you, if anything. And he was like, yeah, if you need me to come on the podcast to gloat, then I'm available. I was like, you haven't won anything yet. And I sent him a meme thing back that I'd seen, which was really funny. And let me just get it up, just for a bit more additional context. Right, where are we? Right, here we go. Yeah, so I saw from a Facebook group, I think it was, called Massive Hammers, of a picture of Declan Rice on Angelo Ogbonna's shoulders, celebrating with all the fans going wild in the stadium in Prague, right? And the Massive Hammers, posted that photo with the caption, "Going to be a shock to the system when Declan realises he's left these fans for 12 goons wearing balaclavas banging a drum." Which is absolutely sensational. And then I sent that to Cutsy. He said, "I think you'll be okay with the Champions League music playing." And I just replied, "Yeah, for 3 games." Because there is genuinely the potential, isn't there? I think, he signed a 5-year deal?
Yeah.
That in that space of time, Arsenal will play 3 Champions League games. That is a realistic proposition, isn't it? Like, I just don't. It just doesn't feel like the good thing they've got going is that is established enough. And I think them signing Declan Rice is the best signing they've made, and it's a move which suggests that they're trying to establish that dominance and go again. But it's not beyond the realms of possibilities that they go out the Champions League in the group stages, drop into the Europa League, and then, i.e. the same competition West Ham are likely to be in, and then end up playing Thursday to Sunday, and then end up finishing 5th or 6th again. Like, that's not beyond that if you say, like, I'm saying that out loud, no one would laugh me, like, other Arsenal fans aside, no normal, reasonable football fan would listen to that statement and go, "You're absolutely deluded, mate. Ha ha ha, that's never going to happen." Most people go, "Yeah, there's a reasonable chance that happens, isn't there?" Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I sort of agree. I think Declan Rice is better than Arsenal at the moment, although I know they had a good season last year. I think he's good enough to have gone to a sort of more established, dominant side. But obviously, if it was a case of him going to City and us not getting as much money as we had of Arsenal, then you'd still send him to Arsenal, wouldn't you? But right, Jonesy, we've sort of spoken about the Arsenal effect of the Declan Rice transfer, and I must admit, I did find it difficult to see him in all the kit. It was all cringe as well, wasn't it? It's just, I know you said you've never really been bothered by Arsenal, but I just find them to be a bit of a cringe club, generally, to be honest. I think that's the best word I can use to describe them. But look, talk to me. There's been some mixed reviews, right, about the farewell video that he did that went up on the West Ham website. Of course, West Ham's statement didn't mention Arsenal. I saw a funny exchange with you calling someone a melt on Twitter, who had Arsenal weren't included in West Ham's statement. And then there was the statement itself from Declan Rice, the farewell letter, which was about 7,000 words long and genuinely should have had chapters because it was such a lengthy piece of work. What did you make of all of the farewell stuff?
I think the statement I did initially find quite odd that they didn't mention Arsenal. It was very, very public knowledge that he was signing for Arsenal. I saw some people on Twitter suggest that they wanted Arsenal to announce that Arsenal had signed him, even though everyone knew where he was going. But there was a small part of me that thought, oh, maybe they haven't mentioned Arsenal because actually he's going to City and no one knows that he's going to City, and it could be like it could end up being the greatest thing that's ever happened in a transfer window. But yeah, I thought that was quite odd.
Arsenal, like, it's just a punish him for dawdling over the contract or whatever. We're just like, oh, actually, he's gone, and they've got all the announcement video ready, and then it's just like, psych, he's going to City.
Yeah, oh, that would have been so good. But yeah, I thought the farewell was okay. The farewell video, you're right about his personal message to the fans. It was a bit long, but I felt like he felt like he had a lot to say and a lot to be thankful for. And maybe it was his way of trying to justify the fact that he's decided to go where he's gone, in a weird way. But the only people that I've seen criticise West Ham's farewell and the statement are Arsenal fans. Like, in the build up to it, for days you could see West Ham fans going, when it was announced that, or it was revealed that West Ham are likely to do a farewell video. I saw loads of fans going, don't bother, like, don't, just let him go, like, we're done with it, we don't want a farewell video, like, it's not going to change anything. And then since it's all come out, the only people that have been so ever since it actually was announced, the only people that seem to have been incredibly offended by the whole thing are the Arsenal fans. They seem offended that we didn't say goodbye to him as much as they wanted us to say goodbye to him. Like, they started comparing us with like Ajax's farewell to Timber before he signed for them, and now suddenly we're being marked on how we said farewell to a player we've just sold. Like, it's the most bizarre situation I've ever seen in my life.
£1 million.
Yeah, it's like we've just sold him for a British transfer record. We've said thanks, Dec. You've been great over the last 6 years. You've been at the club for 10. You won us a trophy. You're the third captain to ever win a trophy at West Ham. Thanks very much for everything. Good luck in the future. Bye-bye. Thanks for the money. That's all it needed to be, and that's technically all it was from West Ham's side. Declan Rice was a little bit more drawn out.
What else could you say?
Why are Arsenal so offended? Like, why are they allowing themselves to be that upset? Like, sort yourselves out, guys. You've got their leading fan channel releasing a song in it's like a song in tribute of signing Declan Rice, and it's the most unoriginal thing. It's just a remake of Rice Baby, right? Come on.
Yeah. Well, that hasn't been done
then
before.
You've got,
well done, lads.
Oh yeah, well done, guys. Oh, who thought of that? And then you've got,
like Rice Baby. Oh, what, like the song? Oh yeah. Oh, mental. You lot.
No one's done that before. And then you've got the club doing a weird sketch.
For you lot.
Yeah, you've got the club doing a weird sketch on social media, and just they should be going. Well, we expected something a little bit more classier than this. To be fair, we've just spent 105 million quid on England's, one of the best midfielders in the world, and we've done this, which is incredibly cringy and tragic. But let's be angry. But let's be angry at West Ham because they didn't say goodbye to them as much as we wanted them to say goodbye to him. Why haven't you said goodbye hard enough? Like, I just don't. It baffles me. The whole thing is a complete farce. Say goodbye
harder. Say goodbye more. What?
Yeah, do it more.
How? I don't know what are you even talking about.
it's hard. It's broken my heart in more ways than one, as you can hear. It's broken my heart that he's left the club.
Yeah.
It's broken my heart the way that Arsenal and their fans have behaved. Fully grown men, by the way, as well. Fully grown men. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Sort your life out. But thanks for the money, boys. Thanks for the money.
Yeah, well, that's honestly, I just sort of think, I don't know. I just think this is not so much on Declan. I do hope he does well. I'm glad that he's gone now and we've got a lot of money for it, because all of the, what's it called? Yeah, a few of the comments about, I want to play at the highest level and all that sort of stuff. He'd been sort of angling for a move in his own very amiable, pleasant way, hadn't he, for a while? And there's a couple of comments, wasn't it? Particularly on England duty, it seems to be in particular, where it's like, all right, Deck, we get it. Like, we get it, mate. But, you know, you compare him to some other players, not just West Ham, but wider players who may have thrown their toys out the pram or whatever. And, you know, if we'd have won the Europa League, which we easily sort of could have, I say easily, but, you know, we weren't exactly outplayed in the semi-finals to Frankfurt that we lost. And we were in the Champions League, he would have stayed. I think, you know, it's same as when we had Joe Cole and Lampard and all that lot. If West Ham were punching at the weight Declan Rice should be punching at, which is Champions League football, let's call it as it is, then Declan Rice would have stayed, clearly. I do. I mean, we've sort of covered this already, whether or not he hasn't exactly guaranteed himself like 5 years of Champions League knockout stage football with his move. But listen, we've covered that bit already.
Yeah.
It was quite funny, Jonesy, because I sort of like, I was actually chatting to loads of the fans at the pre-match event, and I missed the announcement by like 2 hours. So you might even hear it in some of the interviews later on in the podcast. I'm sort of talking, not knowing that it had been announced. So I should have just pretended that I did them well earlier in the day. So, so people thought, he must have been doing all those chats before it got announced. No, I was actually doing them within like an hour or two of the announcement, because I was just busy and talking to people. I didn't see it and no one like flagged it to me or anything. So anyway, I was doing that. Then obviously went off to the game, and it was only during the game I had the first real chance to like look at a lot of the content and the statement and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, mate, I started reading the statement during the game. I think I missed about 4 goals because it was so long. It took me ages. Absolutely ages. But look, I just think, I don't know. Oh, you know, the bit that rankled me the most was when he put COYG, Coig, on the end of one of his like Instagram posts. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's gross. You were only coying like a week ago or whatever. Yeah. Now you're coying. That's worse. Yeah. But no, look, I think what we'll sign off on. Look, I really hope Declan Rice is England's best midfielder, along with Jude Bellingham, for the next however many years, and that we can cheer him on with England lifting the World Cup or the Euros with Declan Rice at the heart of it. I really would love to see that, because I think it's great for our club and for the academy. They obviously won the FA Youth Cup final, so there's some good things going on at West Ham again. And we could, after a very long barren spell as far as youth production go, we can finally realistically start calling ourselves the Academy of Football again. I really, really hope Declan goes on to have great success. There is a bit of me that genuinely does hope that, you know, he's by far Arsenal's best player for the next 2 seasons, but they end up flunking out and just another go back to the sort of Europa League club that they've been for the last 10 years or whatever. And then Real Madrid or Man City finally then go, yeah, look, come on, mate, you're too good for them. Like, come and join a proper club with established success. But there is every chance that I don't think they'll win the Premier League, but there is every chance that Arsenal will get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League this year and finish 3rd or 4th again. Like, that's not beyond the realms of possibility either. But look, we'll see what happens. Anything else to add on the Declan Rice stuff, mate, before we move on?
No. No, I think I've said it all. I think I've got it all off my chest now, mate. the announcement came through while I was queuing to check my bags in at Mercier Airport on Saturday, standing alongside my Arsenal supporting father-in-law. So yeah, it wasn't an ideal situation. I'd come down from I'm coming home from holiday, and then like almost crying into my coffee in the morning of at Mercier Airport. So yeah, nothing more to add. I've got it off my chest now, mate. I'm looking forward to the Arsenal fans in the comments below, no doubt, kicking off.